Hello everyone, welcome back to Dark Night Tales. Before we dive in, please show your support, give this video a like and be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss future videos. So let's get started. The first story. At 12 years old I woke to a man entering our house and my dog may have saved me. When I was 11, my family moved to a very rural area of Minnesota in 1999 after living in a city in Wisconsin. We were surrounded by cornfields and it was about 45 minutes to any larger town or city. I just want to set the scene a little because as a young kid who was used to the city, it definitely added to the creepy factor at night. What made it even worse at night for me was that a lot of times I was left alone. My mom was a night shift nurse and my dad was a truck driver. I would leave the TV on, playing Nick at Night, so I could fool myself into thinking my mom was in the living room watching shows. I would also sleep in their room because it brought me comfort and was closer to the TV. Some may disapprove of this, but at the time there wasn't much to do about it. My parents needed to make money and this was what they chose to do. Anyway, it was like this often, but one weekend my dad was home, which didn't happen often, so this meant I was in my room, which was right near the front door, and my dad was in their bedroom, toward the back of the house. We had a Springer Spaniel who was my best friend and who slept with me often. One night that weekend, I woke up to him not at my side and could hear what sounded like a dog, my dog, growling and whimpering. I got up, walked to the kitchen right outside my room and looked towards the front door. In the entryway I saw the head of a man bent down near my dog and I said, "Hello?" Not sure what the hell I was thinking as a young girl. I should have ran to get my dad, but I was worried about my dog, I guess. He stood up, looking startled. I don't remember what he looked like very well, but he was probably in his 40s or 50s, short and looked a little disheveled. He asked me where a nearby town was and I told him I didn't know but could go get my dad. The man had taken a few steps forward and my dog growled. He then said that he would figure it out and walked out the door. I ran to get my dad and needless to say my dad was really upset I didn't come get him right away. The man never came back that I know of. I don't know if he knew I was usually home alone somehow and tried to come in. Or if maybe he was drunk and entered the wrong house thinking it was his. It was definitely pure luck that this strange guy tried to get into my house on a weekend my dad was home. I know for sure that my dog may have saved me from something awful happening. I still wonder what he was bent down trying to do to my dog to make him whimper like that. I also wonder what would have happened had I not heard my dog. Anyway, that's my story. It was definitely creepy for me. I also have another story I posted on this sub about a man in a cornfield, that I'll try to link as well, that happened in the same town and time frame. Man watching us in cornfield. The second story. Don't sneak out in the middle of the night. I, 16 at the time, was hanging out at my friend's place, Ava, 16F, with another girl, Abigail, 14F. Fake names for privacy reasons, OFC. We decided it would be a great idea to sneak out of the apartment in the middle of the night. For some background, it was a suburban Eastern European neighborhood, so the idea wasn't that bright as you have probably figured. Cutting to the chase, at around 1:15 a.m., me and my friend Ava first decide to go out. The plan was to keep walking a straight line until we get to the town's river. Pretty easy, right? As we were walking, to my horror I see in front of us a tall, middle-aged man, shouting a boy's name, Andrew, as he was holding a pocket knife. I knew straight off that was bad news. Terrified, I whispered to my friend very, very closely, "We need to back off." Can't explain now, just go backwards. Slowly, with Ava being almost legally blind, she couldn't see much in the dark and definitely did not see the man, so she starts running backwards like crazy. She steps on a branch and makes the loudest freaking sound one could ever make in such a situation. Middle-aged man turns around, looks me straight in the eyes, so I say FCK it, and start running too. We get back to the apartment, safe and sound. Couple drinks later, my other friend, Abigail, decides she wants to sneak out too, and me being the rebellious teen that I was, I followed her without a second thought. This time it was about 3:05 a.m. We were hanging out in a park, smoking and talking about boys, when suddenly, lo and behold, at the park's entrance, the middle-aged man. I tell her okay, this is not good, we need to go back now. So we quietly leave the park and, thanks God, he didn't start chasing us. Worse, he got in a white van. It was obvious the van was following us from a distance, but that wasn't a problem, as we were close to Ava's house, right? So I thought, until Abigail turns to me and whispers, "Don't let it show." But I think we are lost. And then it hits me, we had lost our direction. We start turning at random corners and desperately looking for the place, until we run into Ava's dad, who had woken up to the horror of two missing kids. I think it's obvious that we all got a pretty bad lecture and were sent off to sleep. Looking back on it, as much as I hated her dad for that, I can say now that someone was probably looking out for us up there. I can't stress this enough, don't play with your chances like this. There's a lot of sick people out there, especially in sketchy neighborhoods in the middle of the night. To this day I wonder what could have been if we hadn't found the house in time. Stay safe you all. The third story. Creepy van dudes tried to take me on a trip. Back in the early 2000s I was a young, attractive college girl and worked at a tiny coffee shop across the street from the school I was attending. It was very small and never busy, so almost all of my shifts were solo. It was a drive-through only store with an employee entrance and drive-up window at the front of the building. The bathroom was on the right side of the building and also had an exit door. It was located across campus from my apartment. On the day of my creepy encounter, I had walked to work as I often did because it was only about 5 minutes away in nice weather. I had been there for a while, bored as usual doing my homework, when a brown van pulled directly up to the window. This was odd because you're supposed to order at the speaker near the large menu display like most drive-through experiences. It was also odd because the van was so creepy, like a literal rape van joke on wheels. It had blacked out windows in the back and definitely had seen better days. Two men stared at me from the van. The driver was an elderly man with long white hair and cold, blue eyes. The passenger was a scruffy middle-aged man in an old baseball hat. I opened the window and asked if I could help them. I could smell liquor radiating from the open window of the van. The driver called me Linda and said he was so happy that I was coming with him on their trip. I immediately started to feel bad vibes and told him he was mistaken. He kept insisting that I was Linda and coming with him on a trip. I had never seen these men before, and I suddenly realized just how alone I was. I told him that I was able to assist them with a drink order, but that I'm not Linda and I'm not going anywhere. They finally left after a few minutes and never ordered anything. I took note of the license plate and was relieved to find that it was an easy one to remember, Judysvan. I locked both doors in the drive-through window after they left. I was creeped out the rest of my shift, but didn't see the van again. So I figured it was just a strange encounter with two drunk men. Fast forward to closing time. It's dark out now, so I'm finishing up my nightly duties and gathering my things to leave. I'm still slightly creeped out from the weird men in the van, so I kept my keys in my hand as I locked the coffee shop's front door from the outside. As I turned to start walking to my apartment, that same brown van pulled quickly into the parking lot right next to me. I run back to the front door of the coffee shop. The keys trembled in my hand. I unlocked the door, scurried into the building and locked the door behind me. I ran to the bathroom and locked the door. The bathroom had an exit to the side of the building, but no windows, so I had no idea what was happening outside at this point or if the van was still out there. I called my roommate and told her what was happening. She said she and her boyfriend would come pick me up at the side exit. I waited in the bathroom listening through the door and heard footsteps outside. The door handle jiggled and I froze in fear. But suddenly it stopped jiggling and I heard nothing. My phone rang and it was my roommate. She was waiting outside the side exit. She said the van peeled out of the parking lot as she pulled up. I hopped in the back seat and we set out to follow the van as I called the police to report these dudes. They were driving erratically and at one point it became unsafe to continue following them, and we had to stop at a red light. The officer I spoke with said there was no record of registration for the license plate Judysvan. The officer said they would patrol the area, but that was really it. I never heard anything else about it from the police, and I never saw that brown van or those creepy men again. But I do still wonder how they knew when I'd be leaving and how long they'd been watching me. And who was Linda? Who's Judy? And did they take a trip with these men, but meet a different fate than I did? The fourth story. Man in back garden. This happened between Christmas and New Year. I was off work because of severe stress that was manifesting physical symptoms, abdominal pain and shortness of breath amongst other things. It was around 3 p.m. on the Wednesday, and I'm sat in my living room, when I hear what sounds like the handle of my back door being jiggled. However, me being the idiot that I am, thought the wind had knocked something over in my garden. I unlocked the door and scan around, but nothing obviously out of place, and it wasn't even windy. I looked down the side of my house and my gate that leads to the front is unbolted and ajar. I thought maybe I left it unlocked, so went to lock it, but before I did, I peeked around it and on the other side was a man of about 20. I said, "What are you doing?" while keeping the gate between us in case he was armed. He replied, "I got lost around the back and jumped your wall, is that alright?" I said, "No, that's not alright," and slammed the gate in his face. I immediately reported it to the non-emergency police line, and then went around all my neighbors to let them know someone dodgy is about. Some of them had Ring doorbell footage of him passing their house, and one guy said he thought he heard his front door handle make a noise at around the same time. Really creeped me out, and made my stress symptoms so bad, I ended up in A&E the next day, convinced the chest pains I was experiencing was a heart attack. It wasn't, luckily. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.